Where are my peoples? Where's my live crew? Are you in there? Let me look behind the curtain. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 420 Live. Jeff Kravitz. It's Tuesday, and we are in the middle of week 28. 28 weeks of coming to you live in this delicious time splot, the delicious time splot of 420. Hopefully you splotted yourself up before tuning in. If not, please don't let me stop you. Feel free to fire it up and get ready. We're going to have a great show today. We have Oliver Wood on the show from the Wood Brothers. He's an incredibly talented artist, and I'm sure you've heard his stylings on Sirius Jam On. Or Sirius, was it Jam On? Yes, the old Jam On. I used to hear the Wood Brothers all the time. The radio. But you know what? I wanted to start this show today with a little special song from Trey Anastasio. So I'm going to pop this in. This is a little ditty that just came out. And if I can get here, I can hit play and check it out.
Don't forget to vote. 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 Don't forget to vote.
Don't forget the vote, right? I love it. Thank you, Trey. Sweet. Where am I? Yeah. Thank you, Trey. That is a song for our times. Don't forget to vote. Today, if you don't know, is National Voter Registration Day. It is the time to sign up to vote. We support headcount.org. We think it's incredibly important that you check your voter registration, as almost important as actually registering to vote, because a lot of us voted, me included, in the primary and was totally convinced I was registered to vote until Kiki told me, Dad, you should check because your friends aren't on there. Some of your friends are getting knocked off the voting rolls. So I went on and checked, and sure enough, she was right. And when I went on, I wanted to take advantage of the headcount.org and Global Citizen campaign, where they have different perks from different celebrities that you can get a autographed guitar from Bob Weir. You can get Billie Eilish to talk to you on your Zoom. I went for the virtual chat with Lenny Kravitz just because I'm going to do it right here with you guys if I win it. But, you know, it's amazing the perks, these celebrities stepping up to give little different things to encourage their fans to get up there and register to vote. So register to vote and make sure, more importantly, that you are signed up to vote. Because I don't think there's going to be anything worse than stepping into that ballot and waiting in line or not getting your form in the mail and wanting to have your voice heard. So we could take a little lesson from Trey there, and don't forget to vote. And that video is on his Instagram feed. And also Fish, if you go on headcount.org, Fish, they're also offering, I think, perks. It might have ended, but you can still check in and register through their thing. Oh, good. There's the link I got from our friend Oliver, and we're going to check out his video in a little bit. I mean, you know, it's been great. Touch base tomorrow. We have Billy Ayuso coming on from New Orleans. You know, it's been such a treat to be able to talk to so many different friends from all over the place. You know, last week our conversation with Noel Kassler about Donald Trump being a complete junkie and wearing adult diapers was the biggest show I've ever done. I mean, I didn't think my Trump bashing would get that kind of reaction, but over 20,000 people checked out the show on Twitter, and I'm still chuffed about the whole thing because I don't know how much people watched, but it's still the fact that 20,000 people clicked in is unbelievable. And the comments that were under the video were heartwarming, make me realize that my fight for right, the fight for justice is not getting unheard, that people out there are listening and have their ears tuned. So, you know, you have to get out there and support your candidate. And, you know, this whole thing, there's so much distraction going on thrown at us every single day. And I'm happy to be one of the forces of distraction that's been out here on the internet. I try to stay away from the politics. As you can see, maybe I shouldn't, but I do try to stay away from the politics and keep it in the entertainment realm. And, you know, hooking up with different publicists, I get a chance to be like, oh, look, my friend Kevin Calabro here hailing the Wood Brothers. And the Wood Brothers announced that they are doing an event coming up. It is this on Live X Live It is called Musical Squares. And Oliver Wood is the singer and guitar player for the Wood Brothers. We welcome him today to 420 Live. Hello, Oliver. How are you?
Hello there.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell us, how's everything going in Nashville?
Well, it's probably similar to a lot of other places. It's got its quirks. It's a little quiet, and I don't know. I'm pretty cooped up. I'm kind of just staying in my own little bubble for the most part. So, but I do see people enjoying some at least outdoor food at restaurants, and I'm sure we're seeing it everywhere. It just started getting cooler today, so curious about what cool weather's going to do to everything.
Well, Nashville's definitely been through the ringer in the past year between the hurricane. What was the tornado?
Tornado, yeah, it was brutal. It was just before the pandemic, so it was a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, you can't get a break over there. And Nashville's one of those towns in America that one of the main ways they make money is tourism and people coming in for the music and the party scene down there on Broadway. And I end up coming in every year for Bonnaroo for the past 2 decades, and I've really seen that town change. How long have you been there?
Oh, yeah, I've been here about 9 years, eight and a half years. Yeah.
And how different is it from when you first got there?
Very different. I've lived in the same neighborhood the whole time, and just my neighborhood alone changed. But of course, we got cranes up everywhere. It doesn't seem to have slowed down at all. There's cranes downtown constantly changing the skyline here and there, and you just turn around and it looks a little different every time.
Have you felt your friends and cohorts moving into town from New York and all the other big cities?
Yeah, I've definitely welcomed some buddies from both of those places. So it's a great place to live. I don't knock it here at all.
Oh no, I love Nashville. It has amazing food and great music, and for a musician, really, it's kind of like the best place to be because the music's real and the people are real.
Yeah, it's a great place for that, just to be around. Even for me, who I don't really go out and see a lot of music. I write a lot of music, but just honestly, to be in close proximity to a lot of other people who do that, I thought that would be. At first, I thought I wouldn't like that. It's too much competition or it's too saturated or whatever. But it's actually really inspiring to just know that. Well, until he passed, John Prine was down the road and writing songs too. And so is Jack White, and so is Dan Auerbach and the Black Keys and Emmylou Harris, and all different kinds of music, all different kinds of artists are here. And so just knowing that they're around and doing the same thing is pretty inspiring. And even the parts of Nashville that there's sort of a stigma with the country music thing, and even the most commercial fluffy country music stuff that happens here can be inspiring too, in that you need something to push up against. You like, I'm not going down that road, screw that. That's not me, so even the stuff that I don't really care for is stuff that inspires me to be myself. And so anyway,
I also find that the musicians there and the people in the business are so much nicer and friendlier. And like in New York and LA, it's I wouldn't want to say cutthroat, but they're not. Not as a community.
You're right. I agree with that. I have not lived in New York, but I have lived in LA, and I love that place too. I know lots of wonderful people there, and I just feel like in those bigger cities, it feels like people are a little more protective of their territory as working musicians anyway. And so, what are you trying to steal my gig? They're like maybe a little more competitive. Where here, I think people are. It just has that Southern hospitality thing here, where people are nice. At least they're good actors, if nothing else. But I mean, people are genuinely nice, and I love it in the South. So
yeah, it's I've shot all the award. I don't say I'm shooting because I'm not really shooting anywhere, but I've shot all the award shows over the years, and CMT has been something I've been coming to for well over a decade, and working that show as opposed to the Emmys or the Grammys or the Billboards. It's just like everybody's as nice as pie. Can I get a picture? Oh, sure, honey.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just a different mentality. So you've been a musician all your life. This has been a thing for you. You've been in bands for decades.
I've been in bands for 35 years, something like that. So long time.
I saw you were in some cover bands growing up. What kind of music did you cover?
Oh, stuff that most people didn't want to hear, like James Brown and Tower of Power, and you know, blues and R&B and stuff like that. Never pop music, really. And I love a lot of pop music. I was just always into just older, funkier, soulful music. So so I do remember playing in a cover band, and we had all kinds of funky sort of R&B stuff, and then but we got some gig in Mississippi, and we had to learn a few pop songs. I do remember playing an In Excess song. That's about as poppy as I got. So, but
But did you play with horns? Were those like big bands with like funky reviews?
well, actually, later on, I would put together a band in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for 20 something years, and we started an original band there with horns, and it was a little more uh, uh, sort of New Orleans influence, a little bit like Little Feat and the Meters and Neville Brothers and stuff like that. So I love horn stuff for sure.
Oh, me too. Well, a band with horns is
Yeah.
killing it. And you and your brother, I guess you grew up in the same house, right?
Yeah, we did.
But musically diverged.
We did. We diverged at a certain point, and then we converged again years later. So, story goes, when I'm 4 years older than my brother, so I um, went out to college in California, and then when he finished school, high school, he moved to the Northeast and went to college there for a while, and started his band Medeski, Martin and Wood in New York City. I was in LA for a little while, and then moved to Atlanta, and got some road gigs, and eventually started my band. King Johnson is the band that I was talking about, the horn band. So basically, while Chris was doing Medeski, Martin Wood for those years, and living in the New York area, I was living in the Atlanta area. So he sort of went north, and I sort of went south, and he went into sort of instrumental improvisational music, which, if you're not familiar with Medeski, Martin and Wood, it's some really cool, very influential music, and those
Very,
guys.
very eclectic and a very unusual, like bass, drums, and Medeski.
And John Medeski, who's like a mad scientist on the organ and the piano and anything with keys. So so really, my brother and I influenced each other as teenagers playing music. You know, I turned him on to a bunch of blues stuff, and I like to take a little credit for just getting him started on his basic bass knowledge. But then he's a lot more diligent than me. When he was overachieving already as a teenager and became a professional bass player. Even before he went to college, he was playing a lot of gigs, and and then later on, after years of not playing together, our two bands actually shared a bill in North Carolina somewhere, and we played a show together and had just a blast. Like, I sat in with his band, and we just had been disconnected and been apart for years and really not that close. So it kind of bonded us back together, and got us excited about, hey, we both picked the same job. Let's work together sometime. Let's create something. So that's what sort of how the Wood Brothers were born. And so we would start getting together and play, and when we were home for family functions, we'd do little recordings and make sure just to try to create some stuff together. And eventually we made what we thought would just be sort of a fun little side project album, and it turned into eventually our full-time thing, where our other projects sort of took a back seat, and the Wood Brothers came front and center.
Well, the tune's incredibly catchy. So who does most of the songwriting?
Well, we all do it. We all do it. Chris Chris was in a instrumental band for 15 years while I was sort of used to writing and singing songs. So it started out where I was writing a lot and I had some songs ready to go when we started the band. But over the years, Chris and I have become much more um, collaborative and just have a lot more fun that way. I think it's a lot more fun when everybody has something at stake when you're creating something, rather than just one guy writing all the songs and everybody else following directions. It's cool to collaborate. So our drummer who plays keyboards as well is also become a great collaborator, and so the three of us really get in there and hash it out together.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But you know what they say, that you shouldn't work with your family.
Yeah. Well, it's that we've often talked about this. People often asked about that, and you do hear a lot of brother bands that have clashes. Where it's the Black Crowes or the Kinks or
Or the Van Halens or
the Van Halen. Yeah, and I think if you look at most of those bands, they were playing together since they were kids,
right.
nonstop. And what Chris and I had the luxury of going our separate ways for 10 years or more, and really figuring out who we were and sort of being comfortable in our own skin, and kind of shed some of that baggage, that family baggage, and not that it's completely gone. I'm sure we have our moments, but nothing like, no deal breaking moments. We get along just fine, and we I think we understand how lucky we are that the music is what bonds us together, that we have this in common. So it's
And
cool.
how easy was it for Chris to fall in the line on the 145 and
Well, it was real easy, and I feel like we really met in the middle somewhere. And honestly, our influences, as far as musical influences, are not that different. Um, I guess just the Wood Brothers compared to Medeski Martin Wood, the Wood Brothers, there's a lot more structure to songs, obviously, than and a less improvisation. Even though we try to put plenty of improv into our shows, and really our last album has a lot of improvisation on it. So, but it's not the same thing, but it's related. The musics are related and they overlap. So Chris and I think it was fun for us to try to find middle ground and bring our strengths that we had, those 10 years that we were apart were sort of our 10,000 hours of, this is who I am and this is how I communicate with music, and to bring those together was fun. It was a fun experiment.
yeah, well, it's definitely good that you guys didn't start early and then try and hit like some huge success like the
Exactly.
Osmonds, all these family bands. It's so hard to watch because some of them are really good, you know.
Absolutely. Well, and I think what happened, there was no danger of us being hugely successful and having all the pitfalls of that, because we've not ever, you know, uh, had a hit song or anything. I imagine it's even worse if you suddenly have all this fame and money to deal with and put that in the mix of an already baggage laden relationship. So not only we were able to shed some of our baggage on the way, but we also have had this very slow, we call it the slow rise to the middle, because we've been doing this for I think 15 years now. This is our 15th year of the Wood Brothers. And
Wow.
we started out in a minivan, and then we got a bigger van, and then we got a Sprinter, and the tour bus didn't come until about 12 years in. So there was no immediate success and any pitfalls that we would have had to deal with that. So we're good. So far, so good.
It's a slow, steady growth. You're all comfortable. You're not coming into it from a point of desperation, and
Right.
you're in the collaboration, which is what makes it all work.
Yes, exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. So COVID hits. What was the status? When was your album released?
Our album, if I'm not mistaken, was released late in January, maybe early February, but we got about a tour and a half into it before, right in mid-March, we were halfway through a West Coast tour. Actually, we got LA in, and then we started heading up the coast. I think we got San Francisco in, and then we got stuck in Washington, and which was kind of the epicenter at the time of the early COVID scare. And so yeah, then we flew home, and that was it. So yeah, the album really never felt like it got its fair its
Do.
fair shake. Yeah. And we're not the only ones. Lots of people released that.
Everybody I've interviewed has been in a different state of, we just released, we were about
Yeah.
to tour, we were on tour.
Yeah.
So your story is very similar to everybody else. We're all feeling that pain.
Yeah.
And what have you been doing since COVID? Because the Wood Brothers have been in the wood pile.
You're right. Well, I personally have been enjoying a lot of time writing and recording music, some of my own. And since we have this much time and there's no touring, I have time to do that, as well as, keep up with the Wood Brothers. So we've done a little bit of writing with the Wood Brothers, and a little bit of recording. And most notably, we have this show that we recorded somewhat separately that should be interesting. It was kind of a real do-it-yourself thing where
that's the Live X Live, right?
It's on Live X Live. It's called Musical Squares. Yep. And yep, there it is. You got it. And I believe it's. I'm an idiot to not be sure, but I think it's tomorrow.
Yes, it is tomorrow. It's in 1 week tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yes.
So tomorrow night, and it's available for streaming, and it's going to be available for a couple weeks, but it premieres tomorrow night. But that was a really interesting and fun show to make, because Jono, the drummer, and I were able to get together and play a bunch of songs and video ourselves just with our phones, but we were in a studio, so it sounds really good. And then we sent that stuff to my brother, and he recorded and taped himself playing with us. So it's kind of semi-live. It was a fun experiment. And then we decided, well, let's, people are going to want to see more in this. We did some talking. We just did lots of just iPhone videos of ourselves, either on Zoom calls or at home, talking about things. And so it's like a very homemade, fun kind of respite thing. It's an hour of just fun.
And just reaching out to your fans and letting them know.
Exactly. Because otherwise we have not done much. We've seen a lot of, some bands are even doing these little tours of drive-ins, and some bands are doing a lot of things just streaming live, and we've been too separate to do that. So this is kind of our first foray into whatever the new thing is that's going to be happening for a little while.
Well, are all three of you in Nashville?
We are all three in Nashville. All three in Nashville, and some of us are being very careful and have care for grandparents and stuff like that. Just being very cautious. So,
and you have extended family in the area.
Yeah, and I think we're, our next project we'll be able to play together more live. But anyway, this is something we did earlier in the summer, and it was, at the time, that was like what was happening. So
yeah, well, it's every band has to find their comfort level, and I know everybody's getting approached to do things, and it's getting up to the 11th hour, and then at the last minute they're like, nah.
Yeah.
It's like plan, and then finally they're like, but somebody could get sick, and then you're like, no, we have to not do it. But it's interesting because now they're coming out with the saliva test that people could do right on the spot that are supposed to have the antigens in them. There's all these different things that people can do at the moment. And I guess that's going to be the new paradigm.
Yeah, if that becomes the new paradigm, then we'll roll with it.
Yeah, and you could also, there's three of you. 18 feet is what you need, right?
Yeah,
6 and 6.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not a big footprint really compared to some.
No, but I totally hear you, and everybody has their own comfort level. And even when I talk to friends about getting together, some people are like, yeah, let's go out and have something to eat, and other people are like, nah, let's just wait. And but meanwhile, the numbers seem to be going down. How are the numbers in Nashville? Are they? I
think it's about the same. They've leveled off and are going down. I think it's I think it's like most other places. I haven't paid super close attention, but I do know, most of us are comfortable hanging out outside to some degree, and just being careful. Just kids playing together outside is still like uh, I don't know. You have to balance your caution with realistic, psychological health. You have to have some kind of interaction with people, so it can be done.
Yeah, the kids are having the hardest time with all of this.
Yeah, I feel worst for the kids.
Yeah.
I
Can you
feel worse.
imagine? My son turned 21 and they closed every bar in the world.
Ah, perfect timing. God. I know. I have one who just started college and whose graduation was from high school was completely anticlimactic, and then the first month of college, same thing, kind of anticlimactic. So it's and
It's
then the
very
little ones who are on their computers all day instead of in a classroom is really hard to watch.
Yeah. It is. Well, I have the song that one of your new songs. How many songs have you written and recorded?
Oh man, I've got about 7 or 8 written and recorded so far. I mean, more written, but about 8 songs recorded now, and yeah, just released a couple a few weeks ago, and yeah, that's been fun. When you're in a band and that's sort of your full time thing, and I have a family at home, wife and kids, and it takes up pretty much all the energy I have, and I never get a chance to do things that we wouldn't do in the Wood Brothers. I collaborate with other people, for instance, or just do whatever the heck songs I want anytime I want.
Well, I have my friend Chris Myers, the drummer for Humphreys McGee, tell me he lives in Bellevue right there in Nashville.
Uh-oh.
He's a hell of a drummer. I don't know
He
if you
is
heard.
a hell of a drummer. I didn't even know he lived in Nashville.
Yeah, he does. I can connect you
What's
guys
up,
on
Chris?
afterwards.
All right.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, those guys are
Wow.
awesome, and
You have a lot.
we've crossed paths with those guys so many times over the years, and even done a few shows together.
They're a great band, and they
Yeah.
love to play music. They've been doing the a couple drive-in shows. Like, oops, what happened? I lost Oliver. He's gonna have to call back in. Well, Chris, I'm working for you here, Chris. I'm trying to get it going. I am building the bridge between different musicians. I'm sure Oliver will realize that he zapped out of my thing. But you know what? While he's gone, until he comes back, I'm going to play his song that is on the new record. He just released it on YouTube, and here it is. Check out Oliver Wood's song, "Soul of This Town." I'm going to go over here and start at the beginning. There it is. Great. Here we go. Did I do that right? Can you hear it?
When you come back home, boy.
Hold on, folks. Hold on here. Let me do this again here, because I don't think I did that right. We're going to try this one more time. We're going to share the screen. Chrome tab. Soul. Yes, that's what I forgot. That, and then share audio. Good. Here we go. Here's Oliver's song, "Soul of This Town."
When you come back home, boy, you're gonna be so surprised. This little town that you came from has just left us behind. Well, they knocked down all the places you and me would hang around. It's just bricks and stone, skin and bone. What about the soul of this town? Did you see that big old high rise? Where sunnies used to be. Well, if I tell it was high time, now he's in Sault Ste. Marie. Well, he's trying to keep the diner, trying hard not to drown. It's just bricks and stone, yeah, skin and bone. But what about the soul of this town? Yeah, what about the soul of this town? They said they cleaned up all the projects and welcomed everyone to stay. And the rent keeps on rising, it pushing everybody away. How can I be with all that money? It's not enough to go around. It's just bricks and stone, yeah, skin and bone. Yeah, but what about the soul of this town? Yeah, what about the soul of this town? What about the soul of this town? Just bricks and stone, skin and bone. What about the soul of this town?
That's a beauty.
Thank you.
Wow. So good. I mean, your voice is so unique.
Thank you.
And has that always been your style?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, I think a lot of us, our style, it comes from our limitations. You know, so I always wanted to sing like Ray Charles or something, and that's definitely not going to happen.
Well, our friend Jeff Gordon's, Night Tripper vibe, which is that's a hell of a compliment right there.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
I mean, how big of an influence was Mac on your life, Dr. John?
Absolutely. Sort of Dr. John, Leon Russell, Levon Helm. Those are my favorite kind of Caucasian soulful singers. Van Morrison, people like that.
So are you saying that you don't have like a huge range as far as like highs?
Oh, no, I don't know. I just
when you say limitations, what do you mean by limitations? That's what I would think would be range.
Put it this way: I think a lot of us as artists, the way we learn to whether you're playing or painting or singing or writing is you emulate your heroes, right? And then for a while you sort of sound like a knockoff, you know what I mean? To some degree, but depending on how ambitious you are, if I emulate Dr. John, well, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm just going to end up with sort of my limitations will help me create my own style.
I understand.
So even though if I try to sing like Ray Charles, I'm not even going to get close. But I may grab a little bit of something, and then I take a little bit from Mac Rebenak and a little bit from these people here and there, and then you kind of make your own recipe.
That it sounded to me like you were cooking when we were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of like cooking. I mean, that's a little bit. That's what creating music in any way is. It's we all sort of speak the same similar musical language, and it's all about. So we all use the same ingredients. We all just come up with different little recipes, and ultimately you find some recipes that sound like yourself instead of other people.
So it sounds like you almost have a whole record. You have 8 songs. I mean, what do you need nowadays? 10?
I do just about have a record. So honestly, I've never thought about putting a whole record out myself, but I could easily do that. Or I just thought I could put a bunch of singles out because I don't know if people even listen to records or. Um, so I'll tell you what. One of the things that's always frustrated me about this business is that you have to, you can record and sort of be really passionate about something, record an album, work on it real hard, and then it takes 6 months for it to come out, sometimes longer. We've had one wait. We had to wait a year for it to come out, and so what ends up happening is you're not as attached to that music anymore. You've already moved on. So what's been cool about these songs that I released is I just finished them, and so it didn't feel that way. It felt like instant gratification. If you just put out a single that you finished a few weeks ago, it's somehow you're still excited about it, and it's just a fun, different way to do it. So I'm not trying to make a huge splash with these solo songs necessarily. I just enjoying doing it, and it's a great outlet for me. So.
And what's it like to be like a guy that's recorded back in the day when you were recording to tape to now where you can make a song on your phone, or you could, how the technology has changed.
Yeah.
It's made our lives completely easier, but like you just noted, is it even worth making an album nowadays and putting that time in it when everybody like Justin Bieber will go into the studio, record a record that in 1 week, the next week the video comes out, and then the next week the song comes out.
Yeah.
So they're hitting when it's hot, and really it's all about one song nowadays.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed my own attention span is not what it used to be. Like I don't make it through a whole record that often anymore, unless it's old piece of vinyl that I'm actually sitting there looking at and listening to, which I like to do that. But so yeah, it's hard to say. But as far as the technology goes, I will say it's really fun to be able to, you can make a record at your house with your computer and a little bit of gear. And I love that luxury. But I also have access to a studio, and my favorite thing still is going in there and using the tape machine. Because in a similar way to instant gratification, with your computer, you can sit there and pick at things and have a million choices of things that you could do, and you can polish something to death. Whereas on the tape, if you work on that tape machine, you don't look at a screen. You just really listen. You listen to speakers, and you just appreciate something in a different way, and you have less choices you can make, and so you have to make commitments. And I still find that really, really fun, as much as I appreciate the technology.
So do you record to both, or do you record to one or the other?
It's any mixture of it. Any mixture of it. Like our last Wood Brothers record, we recorded all our basic stuff to tape, and then we switched over. We dump it all into Pro Tools, which is the computer program, and then so it's sort of half and half, and that's a great way to work. And then lately, I've been trying with some of these solo songs to do everything on the tape and streamline it that way. And that way, it just kind of goes really fast.
Wow.
But you'd think it would be slower, but it's actually faster because you just have less choices you can make. So.
And does the analog sound a lot different to you than the digital?
It's subtle, but yeah, absolutely, it does. So. What do you approach it? The digital is amazing now, so there's a lot you can do, but there's something intangible. It's just kind of like, I don't know what a good non-musical analogy is, but even just there's something psychological. When you put on an album, a piece of vinyl, which is obviously analog, there's the experience of it that somehow gets in your head, and I think some of that experience actually goes into the sound waves of the music, and somehow you feel something different. And you talk to somebody like a Neil Young or somebody, He'll preach about the quality and or lack of quality out there for like people listening to MP3s or even just what comes up
Well,
on a
he had that company, that Pono or whatever it
yeah,
was, that
yeah,
everybody was raving about it, and then I never heard about it again.
yeah. I guess it was a hard thing to sell, but
Well, don't you think that that's the hard thing now is music? I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's really dumbed down. Before there was a price of admission, you had to go into a studio. You had someone that was going to pay for your studio time or know somebody that would let you in to use a studio. And now you can do everything on your phone in your bedroom. I mean, I like that, but it's definitely dumbed the whole thing down a lot.
yeah, and you had to be able to not only go in a studio, but you couldn't go in there. It's expensive. You couldn't go in there and just sort of uh, not know what you're doing. You had to be able to really play and sing your music, whereas theoretically now you could just tune it all, or you could move things around and cut it and paste it. And so it's an age-old argument. I think making a cool record, it doesn't matter how you make it as long as it comes out cool and it feels good. I just personally enjoy an older style of making it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to more fun and involving too. I mean, when you find your groove and what works for you. But
Yeah.
let's face it, it's all about the songs. It's all about if a song's great, you don't really think about how they recorded it. You're just
That's
like,
true.
wow.
That's true. It just, as an artist, to me, the fun part is it's capturing a moment. You're actually capturing something special. So you're not just capturing the song, but you're capturing a performance. And the performance is exciting. That's why I think of all the dead tapes or all the tapers or the fish tapers, and which has gone to lots of different kinds of music. But there's something really exciting about a performance. So when you approach your album recording that way, it's special. It's like you're capturing something that you can't duplicate. You can't do. And I will add to that, like on our last Wood Brothers record, that's actually how we made our record. Is we went in the studio, and luckily it was our studio, so we had the luxury of we didn't have to watch the clock, we didn't have to pay for overtime or anything, and we just jammed and we just completely improvised for hours and but we recorded it as if we were recording an album, right to the tape. And so what we captured was performing it. We weren't even performing songs. We were just kind of like jazz players listening to each other and going back and forth and improvising, and just having fun like kids in a toy store. It was really fun. But the point is, we captured that on tape, and then we cut that up and used it, so we have that energy on all the songs, because it's actually the songs were written after the jams were created.
Oh, so you went in and basically created music that you went back and cut songs to.
Yeah, which of course we're not the first ones to do that. That's how a lot of great, Talking Heads or Paul Simon.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, it's been done, and but we hadn't done it quite that way before, and it was really fun because there's a different mentality to playing that way and then performing parts and things that you've worked out and practiced. There's a certain mentality that comes from just not knowing what you're going to do and just listening and having fun. And usually when you're recording an album, you might be watching the clock and you're like, all right, we got to get this right. I got to play my parts right. And your brain is there, which is a different kind of energy. So.
All right. Well, you said you had a son. Do you have other kids besides the son?
I have two boys. I got a 18-year-old and a soon-to-be 12-year-old.
All right. So you're dealing with teenagers in this day and age. You see what they're consuming. Yeah. What's your take on the music that the kids are listening to these days?
I mean, some of it's awesome. Some of it's fluff. As I think there's always been awesome and there's always been fluff. So I think.
Have you ever said this to your kids like me? How do you call this shit music?
Yeah, there's been a couple of things, but what I appreciate about kids is how open-minded they still are. You know what I mean? Whereas as we get older, I think we close off a few things. So I feel like I've learned from watching my kids to appreciate, that Old Town Road song that came out. I like that song.
It's a good little tune.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm trying to, when they play me something, I try not to hate it right off the bat, because I can definitely I mean, sometimes if something's bold and weird and cool, I'm just like, cool. At least it doesn't sound just like the same old stuff, you know. So I can appreciate creativity and soul no matter what it sounds like, you know.
Yeah, but this whole TikTok generation, where if you look at the charts, 7 out of the
Yeah.
top 10 pop songs come from TikTok,
Yeah.
which is a social platform, and it's creating charting songs, which
Yeah.
it's almost like the horse before the cart to
Yeah.
the next
You're
level.
right. You're right. Which is just another reason why the charts are less important than ever to a guy like me, because I'm not going to be on the charts. I'm not interested in that. I
Well,
think
there's charts for everything, right? Americana has a chart,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. But even that, it doesn't matter really what genre is. I think there's a certain mentality that goes with charts, and you know, music is not sports. It's not. It's charts are like scores. You know what I mean? And I think that something is popular sometimes because it's really good and really different, and sometimes because it sounds just like something else that was popular. So it gets a little confusing. But so
Well,
I
everything's
don't know.
kind of derivative these days. I mean, it's so hard to
Sure. Oh yeah. None of us are completely original. That's for sure.
no. I mean, to have original thought, it's almost like original sin. It doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think about this as like, what do I love about art? And you know, for me, it's the originality is really important, but above that is soul. Like it just something. If it's soulful, then I don't care if it's something real familiar. You know, if I can really connect with whoever's singing it, it's very believable. Then that's my number one priority. Then creativity comes next. You know, how original is it? Because generally, I think you know people who perform or have any kind of art medium, they're if they're really being themselves, it'll be original. You know, it'll be really unique, and soulful. So and that's hard. That's really hard.
Well,
That's
one thing about listening to Wood Brothers and listening to your original music is it's unique and it's soulful, and you hit it right on the head with both of those descriptions of yourself. So you're accomplishing what it is that you appreciate too.
Thank you.
So that has to be rewarding for you as a musician too, to know how to dial it in to get what you want out of it.
Yep, we just try our best, but I feel lucky to be able to do that for a living. It's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, it's going to be really good. The Wood Brothers tomorrow. You're going to be tuning at Live X Live and check out their musical squares. There's the link right there. And you know, we want to see more music from you guys.
Yep, it's coming. We're getting to work on it.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Oliver, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Great new music. Keep up the good work.
All right.
All right. Thank you. There you go. Oliver Wood from the Wood Brothers. What a great interview. Knowledgeable, smart, talented. This is what we look for on our guests here at 420 Live. And make sure you tune in tomorrow for musical squares. I'm going to make sure Oliver and the kids get some chocolate from Asher's. Some of my friends got their chocolate bars today. They have potato chips, pretzels, mini M&Ms, coconut flakes, raisins, and there's CBD in there, which is still good for the kids because it doesn't really, it's for inflammation. And if you want your own bar, there's $75 you spend at Asher's. They'll throw it in the box. My friend Rhonda Zamore ordered one yesterday. She sent me a picture of her with her 420 bar, and they give you a 20% discount on your order as well with the code, and they'll throw the chocolate bar in. And she's sitting there with a big basket of chocolate and holding my bar up. Couldn't make me prouder. Kevin Mazer got his. And then Solo Pipes Venice, the one-handed experience. We're going to be shipping those out too. They're a lot of fun. Everybody loves them. And today, don't forget, folks, it is still the National Voters Registration Day. Our friends at Headcount. I am working on having Andy Bernstein and one of the people from Global Citizens on to talk about headcount.org and to get the word out for all you guys so we can answer questions and talk about getting purged from the voters roles like happened to me, and also to get those perks, like to hang out with Lenny Kravitz or get Bob Weir's guitar, something like that. Yes, Tom, he's a good listen. Talking, singing, or playing. I like that. That's what it's all about. having people on to have talent and amplifying it, getting the message out on what you guys should open your ears to out there. I know I've turned a lot of people onto some amazing, amazing music. Thank you, Oliver. It was great having you on today. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. Tomorrow we have Billy Ayuso coming on from the great city of New Orleans. Billy is performing tomorrow night right after our show. So he's going to stop the show and he has a half an hour break and then he does his weekly live thing. He's been going live since pandemic started every week. And he sent me his song list breakdown. It's on his Billy Ayuso, The Burnouts. If you're not on his Facebook page, check it out. He's performed so many songs. It's not even funny. The new bar. I'm still working on the ingredients there. We're going to get the last batch of these bars out. I got one more order. I want the Ashes to ship because I wanted to change kind of with the vernal equinox, you know, because yesterday, was that yesterday or is that today? Yeah, today. Oh, yeah, by the way, happy fall, everybody. Some people, you know what they say, stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Don't we have to send our clocks back? Oh, no, wait, that's at the end of the month. I'm not really looking forward to that. You know, guys, I appreciate you all tuning in and being a part of the show every day or for a minute, for an hour, for however long you come in. It's really great to be able to connect. It's so stimulating to me, keeping me involved, keeping me active, keeping me guessing who the hell I'm going to have on tomorrow. But I always seem to manage, pull something out of my hat. And, you know, I've been in contact with some amazing people that I want to have come on the show. All they have to do is say yes. And I'm like, let's book it. But we're going to be getting into it. We're going to grow. Things are going to go. They are happening on many, many different fronts. Hopefully some things will happen photographically, but definitely in the realm of fun. It's time to turn the fun on. We're going to try to turn it on right here and also out there. So let's crank it up. Be safe. We don't want to spike. All right. No spiking out there. Peace, love, happiness to everybody out there. Here's a big hug. Oh, the virtual hug. Can't wait to give it to you all in person. You know, if we meet on the playa, if any of you have VR headsets and you want to hang out with me in the virtual world, hit me up. I'm on there. I got my VR. I go to Altspace VR is where I hang out on the digital playa. We can ride some art cars. You can now ride art cars on the playa. My friends from BRC VR, we're coming up. We are cooking up some good stuff. We're going to make you have to get it. Order your Oculus. I feel like I work for Oculus now. Order your Oculus. Whatever it is, the 2. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember. Anyway, Jeff Kravitz, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Mwah! Oh,